It looks like our sea otter is ready to start the 4:30 feed for you. My name's Lisa. I'm one of the marine mammal trainers here. But of course, you are here to see the 3 stars of our shows. These are 3 of our 4 Alaskan sea otters. We have Milo, who's the closest to you there. He's the only male in this habitat. We have Tanu, she's the dark brown otter right in front of me. And we have Nyack, she's the very blonde otter in the middle here. Right away, you might have noticed how different all 3 of these otters look. And that's because as otters age, they get blonder and blonder with color. With that being said, Nyack is our oldest and blondest sea otter. She's 19 years old. Milo is our second blondest. He's 9 years old. And Tanu is still all dark brown because she's only 3 years old. And as she gets older, you see more of that blonde fur going along her face and her upper body. Now, if you're wondering where you can find sea otters out there in the ocean, you don't have to look too far. You can find them right here off of our North Pacific coastline. They can be seen right off the coast of BC and Vancouver Island. They can also be seen down in California, up in Alaska, and as far away as Russia as well. Now, sea otters weren't always so abundant in the wild. They were actually hunted quite severely in the past. And they were hunted so severely that by the 1930s, they were actually thought to be extinct along our coastline. They became a protected species and they were reintroduced. And slowly, their populations are starting to rebound. Now, sea otters do love to eat, as you're seeing here, and I'll hold up a big piece of food of what I'm feeding. I do have surf clam and rockfish. Other than these items, sea otters also love to eat mussels, crab, squid, sea urchin, abalone, a variety of other fish, sometimes even some small octopus. They pretty much eat whatever they can find down in their habitats, which are the coastal kelp forests. These are basically underwater kelp forests. They're kind of like an underwater jungle of a marine plant called kelp. They're actually very diverse, productive ecosystems. And out of all the animals that live in these areas, sea otters are actually the most important species. They are called the keystone species living in these kelp forests. And it actually has to do with their eating habits. So we're going to get a little bit into that a little bit later. But going back to their eating habits, a lot of times people ask, how are sea otters able to eat all those hard-shelled items, all those crustaceans out there in the ocean? Because it's pretty hard to get into a clamshell or a mussel shell, as you might imagine. So what sea otters do when they're hunting is that they'll dive down into that kelp forest, and they'll be hunting for a clam or a mussel, or maybe a crab. They bring everything back up to the surface with a rock as well. They lay everything out onto their bellies and they'll actually use the rock to smash open that clamshell or that mussel shell. So that's a really unique feature of sea otters because they're one of very few mammals who are able to use rocks as tools. Now, another really unique feature of sea otters in the world of marine mammals, that you may have noticed that they are chewing all of their food before they swallow. If you've been to our beluga show or our dolphin show today, you will have noticed that almost all other marine mammals swallow all their food whole. But not sea otters. They have very strong and sharp teeth that they're using to chew all their food before they swallow. Now, one of the coolest features of sea otters is they have pockets. They're not quite like the ones that you and I have, but if you take a close look at Nyack here, the one in the middle, you'll notice that she's got some extra folds of skin right along her upper chest underneath her armpits. And sea otters can actually maneuver these folds of skin, turn them into pockets so they can hold some tasty treats or maybe even rock for later on in the day in those pockets. Nyack's notorious for hanging on to some of her favorite items for a late night snack. Now, sea otters do love to eat, but they actually need to eat. They have extremely high metabolisms. They're extremely active animals, and unlike our beluga whales, they actually don't have a thick blubber or fat layer keeping their bodies warm. So they need to generate all that body heat using the food they're eating. They also rely heavily on that thick fur coat you see all over their bodies. That fur coat is the densest one in the animal kingdom. And it's so dense that if I were to take my thumb and put it up against any one of the sea otter's bodies, there'd be more hair under my one thumb than on the entire human body. Now, sea otters know how important that fur coat is. They spend a lot of times of their day grooming themselves. They don't use brushes or combs, but what they do use are their paws. They have extremely sensitive paws. They glide all over their bodies, looking for knots, tangles, loose fur, dirt, anything that might get in the way of that fur coat keeping their bodies warm. And if a sea otter's fur coat is doing its job, the sea otter's skin actually never gets wet. So that's how impressive of a fur coat that is. Now going back to why the sea otters are so important in their ecosystems, as I mentioned before, it has to do with their eating habits. One of the things that sea otters love to eat are sea urchins. And sea urchins love to eat kelp. So if sea otters weren't around to police the sea urchins, keep their population in check, those sea urchins could actually potentially eat acres and acres of kelp forest at a time, turning a once very productive ecosystem to a very empty one that no longer supports all the marine life it once did. But just by being hungry, these guys are doing a great service to their communities, those underwater kelp forests, and that's why they are so important to keep out there in the wild and out there in the ocean. Now, although sea otters do have some natural predators out there, their number one threat is actually oil spills. Naim knows this firsthand because she's one of the survivors of the Exxon Valdez oil spill that happened in 1989. So she was found off the coast of Alaska and she was covered in crude oil, which made it very difficult for her to groom herself. And she actually became very sick by accidentally ingesting that oil. So she was rescued and rehabilitated and brought to us here at the aquarium, where she's done a great job for the last 19 years helping us remind all of you that we can continue to do our part to help keep marine life and marine mammals safer out there. One of the easiest ways that we can do that is by making better seafood choices. The Vancouver Aquarium, as long as a participating number of restaurants all across the Lower Mainland, have brought you the program called Oceanwise. And you can start looking for it on restaurant menus all over Vancouver, and it's a great way to support and promote sustainable seafood. For more information about that, you can look on our website, and it tells you all about the program and which restaurants you can find it at as well. Alright, so these sea otters are doing a great job eating for you. I'm going to continue feeding them, but I'm going to be stepping off mic now, so you're more than welcome to stick around for the last bit of this feed. This is our last program of the day, so on behalf of myself, everyone else here at the aquarium, we hope you've had a great time learning with us and meeting all of our animals. We hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks very much.
Because the Nintendo sponsored the Snowpad, a lot of stickers with Nintendo, I don't know the name for this. The flag that says Nintendo.